Welcome back to the next edition of the Canadian Ruck. We've got a special pod today. We've got the lads from the Super Rugby Podcast, Toby and Damien. They joined us today. We had a nice little collaborative pod yesterday, chatting about Super Rugby and the weekend's matches. So you're going to want to stick around for that. It's a different type of pod for the Canadian Ruck, but it was pretty enjoyable. We had some good laughs chatting about the great game. As always, contact me. I'm on Twitter at Canadian Ruck, Instagram, _Canadian_Ruck, Facebook at The Canadian Ruck, and if you need to email me, thecanadianruck@gmail.com. And always remember, you gotta watch and listen. And if you're watching and listening, you might as well follow and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play and Podcasts, and our main pod host is Castbox. So just going to be brief here in the news. Big news coming out of New Zealand, and I'm sure you've probably heard it already, but the annual North-South game is being held at Eden Park this year on August 29th. It seems like it's been a regular fixture there since the early 1900s, taking a couple of breaks for world wars, which makes sense. It was annual up until like the mid-'80s, and then from there on, it was just kind of sporadic, the last one being in 2012. So that's going to be interesting. You get the Northern Island and the Southern Island squaring off, which should make for great entertainment and some great rugby. Little smaller note in local news, if you're in New Brunswick on Saturday, June 20th, a friend of the pod, Ron Berry, wrote a nice article on the Canadian Ruck. It's great talking about the origins of the podcast and where it's gone and where it's going. So if you have a chance to check that out online, if you'd like to read it, let me know, drop me a line. But Ron did an amazing job writing about the Canadian Ruck Podcast. Strong, knowledgeable rugby man, and he really hammered home some key attributes and characteristics of what the pod is all about. So saying that, we're going to get right into it. We're gonna jump right into our collaborative pod with the lads from Super Rugby, being Damien and Toby. Please listen to those guys. It's if you watch any type of rugby, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, these guys know their stuff. There are a couple of teachers like me. They actually live in England, but they are from New Zealand. Damien's a diehard Crusaders fan, and Toby, not really sure. He didn't really nail down a team, but it sounds like he likes to follow the winners. And so right now he's a Blues fan. But they're streaming on all platforms. They're on Spotify and iTunes, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you listen. Make sure you follow, download them. Listen to them while you're out for a bike ride. Listen to them while you're out on the lawn. Listen to them while you're in your car. Put your headphones on and pretend you're busy so that you don't have to hear somebody talk to you at the grocery store. It's all good. Social media, they're on Twitter at Super Rugby Pod, Instagram, Super Rugby Podcast. And if you need to get in touch with them, their email, superrugbypodcast@gmail.com. Great guys, very funny, very knowledgeable, and it was a real fun and a real lot of pleasure chatting with these two about rugby because they know their stuff and they're entertained at the same time. So kick back, enjoy the next 40 minutes or so talking Super Rugby. Well, welcome to the Canadian Ruck. We got Damien and Toby from the Super Rugby Pod. A couple Kiwis stranded over in England teaching, and we're just going to talk a little Super Rugby. Toby, can you tell me what that word is again? The Super Rugby word?
Aotearoa. Super Rugby Aotearoa. So it's just New Zealand, really.
Oh, but it's very difficult to say for people that don't live in New Zealand and those who do live in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly.
Even, yeah. I struggle to say it. Mind you, I struggle to say most things. So we just have to get through a pod without making too many mistakes.
Yeah, that's right.
So before we started recording, the three of us had a little conversation. It's kind of neat. All three of us are teachers, and this is just kind of a little fun gig that we do. What do you guys have to do, I guess, to get up and watch your games and so that you're able to get your pod ready for the week?
I think generally we sort of get up. We always watch the Saturday game together, and we just make notes on what we're seeing. And pretty much we kind of obviously have an idea about what we're going to say on the weekend. We sort of pick out the little bits and pieces, and we do that on Sunday. But Sunday games very early, so we'll record that one and watch that one at a reasonable hour. That's for sure.
But we have found that live games are a lot better because we both have sports apps and stuff like that. So it always pings up the final score or something like that, which ruins the game.
Now, you have to remember to turn off all notifications. Else it's ruined.
That's fair. I make sure I steer clear of social media before or during while I'm watching, because as you know, the games here in Canada, they come on at like 2 a.m. for me, and I'm in my 40s. I can't stay up that late anymore. So
I feel your pain.
So
I'm only just in my 40s, but I'm there.
There you go. Damien, you're a Crusaders fan. Me too. Toby,
Massive.
It sounds like you really don't have a team to follow. You just kind of follow the win streaks, or what?
I'm a lone ranger, as they say.
I think some would say glory hunter.
No,
glory hunter.
Those are Crusaders fans.
Oh.
We've been bathing in the glory for quite a while, which is nice.
Awful.
I've been a Crusaders fan basically because of Richie McCaw. He's my favorite. And I think I would have picked whatever team he was playing for. But
a heck of a player, that's for sure.
So why are you a Crusaders fan, Damien?
So he looks at me. I actually grew up in where the franchise sort of collects in a really small town called Westport, New Zealand. And then I went to school in Christchurch for secondary school, then university. So I was really privileged to play a little bit for the junior Crusaders and sort of play with quite a few of the players who have retired now, as or one or two that are still just hanging in there. It's been great. We were sort of part of a group of players that sort of took South Island rugby from never beating the North Island to obviously having sort of the stronghold of the results for quite a few years to come.
That's fair. So I'm looking at you guys. You're both sitting down, but so I'm having a hard time gauging your height and stuff. But Damien, I'm picturing a scrum half, and Toby, I'm picturing a fullback or wing.
I'm just going to sit up a little bit there.
Slouching.
I have lost a bit of weight there, Jamie, recently, but I used to be a centre.
Okay. Yeah, I used to be a winger, but then I moved into centre. It's just I find it a lot better. You get to make more tackles. You get to handle the ball more, especially in this country. Being a winger, you're just a small, little, skinny boy, and you just get cold because the forwards never pass it.
never gets out past 12 or 13, especially when Toby's playing. It never gets out past 12 or 13.
Score try.
So do you guys still play over there?
No, I had to give up playing. Had kids, and I coach over here. So I have coached the first 15 at my school for a number of years, and that's been a great challenge. And as soon as I started doing that, I couldn't mix coaching and playing at the same time, that's for sure. But Toby, you still...
Well, in our line of work, we can't, we couldn't play most Saturdays because we've got school sport. So that sort of hinders our sports for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I play some hockey, some field hockey.
You need to differentiate for the Canadian listeners.
Yes, that's the field hockey. But when I do play rugby, I do enjoy it, and I haven't played that much recently, but I think I've been hounded by a couple of people that I know to get back into it, so I might have to dabble.
I think the day that I knew that I'd no longer play the game is when the first 15 players were better than me. And, when 17 and 18-year-old players are better than you, you start looking at yourself and thinking, this game is no longer for me.
It might be time to hang up the boots.
Definitely time to hang up the boots. Take out the whistle, and away you go.
Did you ever play when you were at school?
Oh, I did. I played it's obviously not to the extent as, in England or in New Zealand, but my high school team, when I graduated, we had won 4 straight provincial championships. And then I played senior rugby. And then I had to hang them up at 27. I had 9 concussions, mostly from hockey. Yeah. And, it was at the time in the late 90s and stuff where you didn't know protocol. You didn't know what was going on. So you just kind of kept playing. So if I had have understood it better, I would have been fine. I might have had 1 or 2, but so I kind of had to. But now I've just kind of recovered. Like, it's been a 20-year process. And,
Wow.
at 43, I want to get back out and go play another season because there's not too many more years left that I could try it. So, Toby, you're one that, you're struggling with your thought there. Like, you're younger than I am. Like, get out and do it while you still can, bud.
No, I need to. Yeah, I just need to find a different job.
I think in New Zealand they have different age groups you can play for a lot longer, and
Yeah,
they have the golden shorts era for anyone
Yes.
over
golden oldies.
golden oldies.
Yeah.
I really fancy when if I do move back to New Zealand at any point, putting on those golden shorts
Yeah,
and running out there, and no one can tackle you at that point, and I quite fancy that. Just to run
they'll just
when no
touch
one
you.
can tackle me.
They'll just touch you.
Oh damn!
But you like that. What position did you play, Jamie?
Scrum half.
Do you reckon he
Scrum half.
looks like
Don't say it. He just said it. He said scrum half.
scrum half?
You weren't going
Good
to
guess.
say that.
Good guess.
Yeah. I was gonna say fullback actually.
Too short.
No,
I hooked
Too
for a
short.
couple of seasons, but scrum half is where I went. I flanked a little bit, but not very well because I was a lot shorter than the other flank and the 8 and stuff. But I like playing around the rucks and malls and stuff. I think the only position I never played was center, because that is, and I would tell my kids, if you play center on my high school team, you're the toughest player out here, because you've got to try and stand in front of somebody running 90 miles an hour and take them down. Like,
great position though.
I
Yeah.
did
Great
like
position.
it, yeah.
You get
there's
the
a
best
lot
of
time.
everything. You get the best of everything. You get the ball carrying, you get the tackling, you get the
You get
decision making as
passing,
well. Yeah. So great position. Highly recommend it to anyone out there starting. Get your hands on the ball a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you feel bad for those poor little wings out in the cold, right? So,
Exactly. that's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
all right. Well, what did you guys see in the games on the weekend? The Saturday morning clash that was really entertaining. What did you guys think of that one?
Yeah.
I think the interesting point for
Highlanders.
me was obviously they've changed the rules this year, and I don't know whether or not the players have sort of got to grips with them a bit more, but I think the referees have definitely relaxed a little bit.
Well, I think they've both ironed out the kinks, as in players and referees,
Yeah.
because, there weren't that many bad decisions from the referee around that ruck area.
Now, I think from 2 weeks ago or a week ago, we're looking at 30 penalties,
Yeah.
and over the weekend, we're looking at around about 20 penalties a game, which is a huge improvement for both. I thought both games were pretty good. I thought the Blues game obviously went right down to the wire, and so did the Crusaders game, to be
Yeah.
fair. But I think, Crusaders maybe looked like more comfortable winners than possibly the game was. So for us, we enjoyed both games, but obviously for me, the Crusaders game had a bit more to it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, not at all. Not at all. The best game was the first one.
27-24, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Loads of tries. The weather was a bit iffy, but they actually played okay in it.
I think the weather was iffy for both.
No,
wasn't
the
it?
weather was awful for the Crusaders game.
Just that's part of living in Canterbury. You get some terrible weather in Canterbury, that's for
It
sure.
was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like down in Otago. That's why they've put the roof on their stadium, because that's kind of standard fry down there. Crusaders area is pretty similar, and then you go up north and you generally get a lot better weather.
I know from a coaching standpoint in Canada, when you watch that Crusaders game, and as a fan, you love seeing them try those things, with 10 yards out from their own try line. But they were knocking so many balls and dropping so many ball. And as a coach, I'm thinking, what are you doing? Just boot it out and chase. Like,
It was like a bar of soap, really. But you say, boot it out and chase. It's not New Zealand rugby, though.
I know.
That is
Yeah.
pretty much what the Crusaders resorted to
Well, they did, yeah.
in the second half. I thought the other things that we picked out in this game was the Blues shape. So, everyone knows maybe about the Blues struggling over the last few years, but one thing that they've really sorted out is their shape. So we talk about basic shapes on the rugby pitch where we've got a 3-3-1-1. And the Blues have adopted quite England-style big ball carriers, or South African-style big ball carriers. And that was really interesting. So every week that looks stronger and stronger. And with obviously Barrett and Dan Carter joining the group that's had a tangible difference there. So moving forward, that's going to be pretty hard to stop when you got Patrick Tuipulotu.
Oh, he's an absolute mountain.
You know, you got the Ioane brothers running at you as well. They've got strike power from not just in the forward pack, but in the back line as well.
Caleb Clark. Oh, man.
You see, you love him, eh?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think he's a center. I think that he's going to move into the center. He just, and this sounds ridiculous to those that saw the game, I don't think he's dynamic enough.
What would you say to him playing at 12?
No, he's a 13.
Yeah, I agree.
13. Oh, yeah, I can see
Yeah,
it.
you can see it, 12. Just that hardcore ball runner.
Yeah, the cut
And
lines.
just, you know, like Lamape, he's good at that, but he's not that tall. But Caleb Clark is an absolute huge human.
Yeah. And he's 21 or something? He's 21 years
Yeah,
old.
He's
so
not
young.
very old.
So-
He's fast, too.
No.
I
he's
think
very
a
good.
I think a
His
13
father.
is big, strong, big legs.
Yeah.
But you could have Caleb Clark at 12 and Ioane at 13.
That'd be tough to stop, wouldn't it?
Mm.
That'd be tough to stop.
I want to ask you guys something because you're very knowledgeable. Bowden Barrett, to me, he's still one of the top 5 players in the world. I could argue that he's top 3. And I understand, you know, Hansen puts them there at fullback in the World Cup. And that's a touchy subject for you guys. It's a touchy subject for me. I'm an All Blacks fan through and through, except for when they're playing Canada, which isn't very often, thankfully. And but why are the Blues putting Barrett at 15? Like O'Terry Black, he's 25. Barrett's 29. He's only got 2 or 3 years left in his prime. You know, and I understand the thought of he's a secondary receiver, but he's one of the best playmakers and ball distributors in the world. Why wouldn't you use him more frequently? I mean, I know the Blues are winning, but they could be winning by higher margins, I think, if he was at 10 controlling everything.
Yeah, I think you sort of said it there. You know, they've put him as playing him at fullback, obviously, but they're using him as a first receiver more and more. And I'm not sure why that is. Why can't he just slot in at 10? But who do the Blues have at 15?
I think it might even be. This sounds awful, but you've got O'Tilly Black, who's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
You've got Bowden Barrett. If you both play them at 10, potentially one of them leaves to go overseas. So you're seeing a lot of these teams using their players to pretty much get them on the pitch. So they'll even stay in the country. I agree with you. I personally, the longer it's gone on, especially since he's moved to the Blues, I think he has to go back and play at 10. I think he's the world's best 10 at the moment. If you know, as a running 10, I don't think he's in the top 3 or 4 fullbacks in the world. So you've got a guy who's the best 10 in the world, or maybe 5th or 6th or 7th best fullback. So for me, you do need to play him at 10. I think Richie, Crusaders fly half, very, very good player. Very, very good player. But, you know, is he as good as Bodie? Off different game, I think off the bench, he would, you know, for a long time, New Zealand played Bowden Barrett at 10 and then brought in Richie at 10 and then moved Bowden to the back. And I think that works really well. But to start him at 15 is an interesting thing. And many people debate it. And no one can sort of fully work out why. I think the game moves so fast as well. This double pivot, I'm not even sure whether it's got that much merit moving forward.
That's fair. Do you think Black could play 15? Because he is a good player.
Good player, but I don't think he could play 15. And I think that's why he's at 10, because if you've got Barrett at 10 and O'Tilly Black on the bench, he's a bit of a waste there, especially for the Blues. And I'm not sure who they've got as a replacement at 15. So I think their sort of thinking is we need both very good players on the pitch, even if one of them is out of their normal position. But I think at the moment, the normal position for Bowden Barrett is 15.
I think it must be something to do with the All Blacks. I don't think Bodie would be happy unless he's driving, unless he wants to play at 15. But I would guess that Bowden Barrett's saying, I'd like to play at 10. I'm guessing the All Blacks are saying we still want to use this double pivot. I mean, Richie Mwanga is a fantastic player. They're just so different. I think Richie Mwanga's plays more what he sees. I think Beauden Barrett sort of pre-plans a little bit. So they're just different players. Obviously, the All Blacks, Fozzie sees it. He wants him at 15. So they've told the Blues, if you could play him at 15, that'd be great.
Fozzie?
Yeah, my best mate, Fozzie.
Oh, for God's sake, man. What is that? But
you called him Ian Smith last week.
Yeah, he's the commentator. But I've just had a look here. Harry Plummer is sort of the replacement utility, and you wouldn't want him starting.
Yeah, I don't even know that name.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's not. To be fair, he's not a bad player as well.
He's
and I think Stephen Peter, I'm absolutely moved at that name.
Yeah.
I think him being injured is an issue as well, because he had been playing fullback pretty well.
Oh yeah, I know exactly.
So he's out for the season. So my biggest thing is, when are they going to bring Dan Carter back?
That's what I was going to ask next.
Can't wait to see him run out there.
I know.
Is he going to play soon, or is he just going to be the water boy the rest of the year?
Well, I think he's been the best water boy yet, hasn't he?
He's the highest paid water boy you've ever seen.
Oh no, Umaga, yeah.
Umaga, yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see him to.
The big thing is, are they saving him for the Crusaders match? That would be a bitter pill to swallow. I mean, I actually think the Crusaders fans are pretty good about him playing there. I think there hasn't been much kickback, as far as I'm aware, from him playing it for the Blues. Everyone accepts that he's helping out New Zealand rugby, and happy days, really. But it would be great to see him run out. I'd love to see if he's still got it. If you're still good enough to play at the highest level. We really could have done with him last year at the World Cup.
Yeah. How old is Dan now? He's like, what, late 30, 38 or something?
38.
Yeah. He was 1 year younger than, as in playing year younger than me. So that tells you, and my knees.
But he looks good.
Yeah, he doesn't look 1 year younger than me, eh?
Yeah, but he never played
He's
center,
got
right?
way more here.
A lot of people do. No.
Oh, he played at 12?
He played at 12,
He did play at 12, yeah.
He started at 12, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Moved in.
I really like that Finlay Christie. He came in there with the last 20, 25 minutes of the Blues game.
Yeah.
He was a good little scrum half. He did well.
Yeah, see, we sort of talked about this the other day, didn't we? And we, Sam Knox had an awful game the last couple. He had a much better game this week. But Finlay Christie, does he add that bit off the bench, or should he start? That's sort of what our debate was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think if New Zealand want to really take their game up a notch, they really need to think about their bench players. Over the last few years, we've seen them pick their best starting 15 and then arguably not have a lot on the bench. What I mean by that is they don't bring players off the bench that are stronger. Whereas you look at them when they were at their absolute best, they were bringing some of the best rugby players in the world, guys like Sonny Bill, off the bench. And I think, moving forward, they could be picking certain players who are some of the best players in the world to come off the bench and change the game. Because as a coach, I think as a coach, it's very easy to plan for an opposition, but it's very difficult to plan for the bench and when they bring those players off and who's still on the pitch from your team. And, by that stage, a lot of those tactics and sort of patterns go out the window.
But I really liked it when the All Blacks had, sort of trustworthy players, like Richie McCaw, like Sam Cane at sort of that 7 role, but then they'd bring in Adi Savia, which totally changed the dynamic of how the All Blacks almost played. It was more of a running game then rather than a ruck game, which is good when, there's 20 minutes to go in a game. Yeah, 25 minutes. It rips them apart.
You look at the someone like Bridge, who they bring off the bench, Crusaders winger.
He's
could
great.
Bring a Lamb off the bench who can't catch, can't tackle,
but can bloody run.
But he can run.
He can run.
So, those are the guys who, if you bring him off the bench, he's going to score tries for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone else is a bit tired.
Yeah.
So do you guys I'm old school a little bit, where I like the rugby of the 90s and early 2000s where, the front row started and played the full 80. There's only subs if somebody got nicked up. But now you have these subs where it's 20, 25 minutes left, and it's about, not getting players in like it would be in high school, but it's about changing the dynamics of the game or what have you. Toby, you look like you're going to jump in here, man.
Yeah, I think for me, the game has changed so much. Everyone's so much bigger, faster. The game is non-stop now that you need those replacements, especially in the forward pack. They're putting their bodies on the line.
I think the really, really interesting thing is years and years ago they did a league versus union match, because I know that there has been talk about the Kangaroos playing the All Blacks. But Wigan played Bath Rugby Club, and when they played Bath Rugby Club, it was like men versus boys. The men being the league players, the boys being the union players. The talk now about the Kangaroos playing the ABs is the Kangaroo players are worried about the size factor about the union players. So it's gone completely in the other direction. And part of that is because you can have so many subs in a rugby game that actually some players, as you say, are coming on for 20 minutes, or they only have to stay on for, you look at the South African World Cup final, they literally replaced their front row after 40.
At half time, didn't they?
So, you can be 140 kgs. I'm trying to get there. And you can play rugby. Whereas, if you cut down your subs to maybe 4, then there's no way you could be 140k and be playing.
But the thing is that if you've only got 4 and you've got, let's say, 1 or 2 front row replacements, and they get injured, it ruins the game.
No, because you still have injury replacements. You'd still be allowed that, but it's the tactical replacements that you couldn't.
Well, it just means that if you were subbing on at 50 minutes, you can go for it. You can literally go until you drop, and you don't have to worry about sort of pacing yourself. It's just all out for that 50 or 40, 40 or 50 minutes, and then the person coming off the bench does exactly the same. They share that role.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit like you, though. You look at Sean Fitzpatrick and Warren Gatlin. Warren Gatlin sat on the bench for like 50 or 60 games and never got on because Sean Fitzpatrick never got injured. That just does not exist now, because
no, that's right.
I think, I can't even remember. I think back in the day, you could only make subs when a player got injured. You didn't have these tactical substitutions. So is something that I know that they're talking about, because what they want to do is they want to actually make the rugby player, they want to make rugby safer. And one of the ways to make rugby safer is to make rugby players lighter.
Smaller.
140 kgs is a heck of a weight, So those man mountains running at you, it ain't any fun. I'm just glad I retired when I did. That's all I've got to say. Dan Carter, good luck to your son.
He's nowhere near 140 kg.
Absolutely not.
So neither one of you answered. Did you like it when it was the full 80, or did you like it when? Do you like the technical aspect?
Yeah, no, I do. I do like rugby now. I do like rugby now, but I think there's 2 stop-start in the second half. So going back to the 90s, big fan of the slightly fatter front rower and the slightly less coordinated second rower.
That's fair.
I like it. I like it now because you are getting sort of humans at their prime, and back in the day, I think sometimes you could have had a back row or a second row playing in the back line, but now they're so sort of position specific.
Yeah.
It just makes it more exciting for me, anyway. But again, I'm younger than you guys, so I didn't get to sort of experience the glory days. The glory days,
the glory days of rugby. Yeah. You're modern. All you want is modern. You don't want to, you don't want to relive. Mind you, some of your clothes aren't that modern. Look at that hat. It's terrible.
Hey, the hat's marvelous.
I was thinking the 70s hairstyle more than anything.
Exactly. I'm thinking about getting a mullet, actually. Now that is old school.
That's
very
90s.
New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and my
little
stubbies.
Jack Goodhue on you.
Yeah, Jack Goodhue is your hero, eh?
No, he's a crusader. Yeah.
I do love Jack Goodhue. He's wicked. What's going on with TJ Perenara? Is it just me? Is he slipping? What's going on with him?
I just think that the standard of halfbacks in New Zealand has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, he's been around for a long time, but he's still a young man. So his position has always been off the bench.
Yeah.
But I think he's not quite as sparky as he used to be. So he's going to have a tough year ahead, I think.
You know what sort of got me was the game last week that they played. He was almost like a footballer to the referee.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's sort of because like you say, his standards are slipping a bit, where he's almost got to compensate by having a bit of a go. But I don't know. Yeah, he's always been a bit jippy, but he was over the top, I thought, last week.
Yeah, I would agree. That's what I was kind of getting at. He was just yappy. He looked like a crow out there flapping his wings and like right in the ref's face the entire time. I couldn't understand what he was doing.
To be fair to him, the Hurricanes tight five has struggled over the last few years, and being a scrum half playing behind that tight five isn't going to be a lot of fun. You got Aaron Smith, who's in a team that's traditionally struggled, but they've always done the work in the tight five. Got the Crusaders, who some would say is the best Super Rugby team of all time. And, they're like Rolls Royces there. Then you got your Blues, you got big, strong tight five there. So you are probably looking at one of the weaker, one of the weaker sort of packs to play behind. And that makes his life very tough. And then he doesn't have a great team to chuck the ball to and get him out of a bit of trouble as well. So I think it's tough for him. He's got a playing behind a weaker pack, and he's arguably servicing a slightly weaker back line than in the past, especially when Beauden Barrett was there to make him make whatever he did. And he does certain things really, really well, does TJ. So, it's not all bad. I'm sure for the All Blacks, he will still compete and perform a very good job for them.
See, I still don't think I'm not even sure he'll make the All Blacks.
Yeah, well, he might not. You're absolutely right, because he's got...
Who do you think it would be then?
You're going to say...
No, Weber. You've got Weber, who's a good player. You've got Hall, who's a fantastic player. He's come into his own since he's been at the Crusaders. And then you've got, Aaron Smith.
Yeah. Smith, you got I would say at the moment, Aaron Smith is still number one.
Yeah.
Definitely Brad Weber number two.
Yeah.
Arguably TJ's three, but there's a massive, argument to say Bryn Hall, who's been knocking on the door for a number of years.
He's had a few caps though, hasn't he?
And no, nothing.
Has he not?
Not even made a training squad. And he's a guy that could come on and change the game. He's he's a little bit like Brad Weber. So you've got
a
a
running game.
Aaron Smith, who's the best passer in the world, and then you got Brad Weber, who's got a great passing game, and then you got Bryn Hall, who runs. He predicts his lines really well. So if the wingers make a break, you'll always find Bryn Hall running that inside line, probably better than anyone else in New Zealand rugby at the moment. Probably, I'm going to say better than anyone else in the world at the moment.
That's a huge call.
I'm trying to think. Who scored the try for the Crusaders down the wing?
You are looking at fullback.
Yeah.
Will Jordan scored both.
So he's a great player, but I didn't realize Brad Weber was so fast. He actually caught up. And
Siver Reese.
He caught Reese.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you've got a great story about Brad Weber, mate. This lad over to my right here, he used to be a lifesaver, and he used to represent New Zealand in the beach lifesaving. And they did this little thing where it was like the flag run, and he always tells me the story about how he murdered Brad Weber and chucked the stick in his face or something.
No.
No, but they used to do that together, and actually Toby was a little bit quicker. You've represented New Zealand at the flag race for the World Champions. True?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen a YouTube clip. It's real.
Okay, I'm not sure how much truth is in that or not, but it sounds like it's a good story.
Oh, we'll send you a link. We'll send you a link of what it's all about. But
no, but Brad Weber is seriously fast.
He's got some wheels.
Yeah. I think the bigger question here, Jamie, is, and I've heard this today actually, is people are saying that New Zealand rugby, they wouldn't hold a candle to the English Premiership.
Why would they say
now? Yeah, exactly. Well, this is what one or two of the journalists are saying. But what made me really laugh when they said that was, this is the same New Zealand Super Rugby franchises with pretty much the same players that when the British Lions came across, they would struggle to beat, the Super Rugby franchises. In fact, they lost to the Blues. They narrowly beat the Crusaders. I think they lost to the Highlanders as well. So basically, they're saying that the Premiership clubs are stronger than the British Lions team. But that's what we've got to deal with over here.
So you guys are loving that?
Oh,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, we need to have a competition where the top 3 or top 2 clubs from each country go into a knockout sort of game or knockout competition.
Yeah, and this is something they are talking about now. Every 4 years, they are thinking about having a world club competition. So that would be really exciting. I do think that the gap is narrowed. I do think that certain clubs like Saracens, although they'll be playing in the championship, the league down because they spent way too much money. Let's not go into that story. They're the top clubs in the Premiership. They offer something a little bit different, but they would be tough to beat. Going back 5-10 years ago, I think whoever won Super Rugby would wipe the floor with the European counterparts. But I do think that has narrowed, and I would say that Saracens side of 3 years ago would have been very, very tough to beat. And I think if the Saracens had moved and come to New Zealand, I think the Crusaders or whoever would have won that. But I think if New Zealand are going over and they're playing out a season and playing in England or Europe, it would be very, very tough to win.
Or vice versa, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If they came to New Zealand and
I just did say that, mate.
No, you didn't.
Completely different styles, right?
Yeah.
Different styles, yeah.
And
that's where the Crusaders have the unique advantage, because we do play in the wet quite a lot. So a little bit it's more like English competition than, the weather.
Yeah, that game Sunday looked horrible. Like the rain coming down, balls getting dropped. But yeah, that Will Jordan kid at fullback, he had pretty impressive.
He had a great game under the high ball, didn't he?
Toes, what did you think of the Highlanders fullback?
What was his name? Oh my!
Oh, that poor kid.
Oh yeah, poor kid. That's
poor kid.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
Someone Gregory.
Yes, Scott Gregory.
Oh my God! It was the hair.
It might be his first game. I mean, as soon as he walked on the pitch, I've got a big thing about long-haired rugby players. There's not many that I like.
Why is that?
Gets away with it. Big Robinson from the Blues gets away with it. Yeah, and as you can see, Jamie, I'm follically becoming challenged. So as soon as Scott Gregory walked down the pitch, I thought he's going to have to be good. He's going to have to be good. As he's going to get
boy,
it.
was he bad.
He dropped every ball. Young kid though. Fourth choice fullback and really struggled on the weekend. That's for sure.
He was born in '99. He's 21.
21, yeah.
He still got the baby cheeks and the peach fuzz on his cheeks there. He's
right.
What? I feel bad for him. Like he went at every ball. He just didn't take one.
Well, that's right. He didn't lack sort of a
Confidence.
Bit of grunt or confidence, but yeah,
he might lack confidence now.
Yes, I think you're right.
So.
Definitely lacking a few bit. I tell you what, I lack confidence in him.
Fair enough. It's a good thing he doesn't play for the Crusaders.
He should do, to be fair. He'd fit right in.
Oh, dirty. So, well, there's like 6 or 7 weeks of rugby left. What's your guys' plans? You just every week you're just going to jump on, you're going to recap and move forward?
Yeah, I mean, generally the way that our podcast works, we do a little bit of world news at the start of the podcast. We review and preview the weekend's matches. Obviously, this weekend is the start of the Australian competition, which is going to be really interesting with the Western Force coming back in there. And then, yeah, we go through and we're trying to do something a little bit different when the season finishes as well at the end of this year. So we're going to try and extend the podcast on a little bit longer, because what we find that we sort of build up our viewers till the end of the season, and then obviously there's no content for them. And especially at this COVID time, there's very little content. So it's been good to produce something for people to enjoy.
So,
Then we always do a quiz, which I win pretty much every week.
Yeah, you do.
I was going to ask
quiz.
if we should do a quiz, but I don't know if I can keep up with your elite standards there.
And the listeners' questions as well. We always have a listeners' questions section on the podcast as well, which is always great, because anything that isn't world news but people want to know about, we try and pick out the best 2 or 3 questions to answer. It's always good to get a voice question.
I find it's always good to get, emails and stuff like that.
Yeah, from your listeners wanting to know stuff.
Even if it's just like you're doing a good job, all that sort of thing.
We get some negative feedback on YouTube as well. I think we've been called morons, which they were right. These 2 idiots. Yeah, you're right again.
But we don't take ourselves too seriously, so it's all in good nature.
And we hope no one else takes us too seriously either.
And at least somebody's listening, whether it's positive feedback or negative feedback, right? So
exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's quite funny. I try not to sort of go back, but some guy came on and on YouTube, and he made some sort of jip at us that we only had sort of 400 or so subscribers. So I had a little look on his subscribers. He didn't have any. So I almost went, well, we're at least 400 times better than you, but you only didn't have any, so that doesn't even work mathematically. So
that's fair. I don't think it'll happen this year, but have you guys thought about maybe expanding into the rugby championships when it starts back up?
Oh yeah, no, we've been doing. We did the World Cup, didn't we?
Cup, yeah.
And we're going to do the Six Nations and things like that as well. So we're going to try and open it up a little bit, but we don't want to take away from the fact that we actually know quite a lot about Super Rugby, but we don't know too much about the English Premiership, and we wouldn't be doing
it justice.
Wouldn't be doing justice if we started to talk. And it's one of those things. We love our rugby, we love our Super Rugby, we love our Southern Hemisphere rugby, but the Premiership doesn't do much for me as a spectacle, and therefore I'd be spending a lot of time, on something that
being negative,
wouldn't float my boat. So we do it for a bit of fun. We do it for laughs. If people enjoy it, it's fantastic. We genuinely enjoy doing it. So, it's something there for people to hopefully listen to when they need to go to sleep or go for a run.
Or wake up to the sound of your voice.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's great, guys. Listen, thanks for coming on, and I look forward to hearing many more of your pods, and just keep doing the great work. I think you guys do an amazing job. It's always entertaining, that's for sure.
No worries, and thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we enjoy it. We've got great podcasts there, great listen to, and I've even learned a lot about Canadian rugby. We're big fans of Canadian rugby team, especially the World Cup, and the way that they took the final game, being cancelled and going out and actually helping clearing up from the terrible typhoon and stuff that was there. I thought that put Canadian people and the rugby team
on the map,
not on the map, but real respect for them to do that. I don't think you would have found a lot of the English boys going out there to clear up, helping clear the locals up. So really good.
So let me get this straight. You're in England, right? Too.
Yes.
You work with the English.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's not go there, eh?
We live with them as well.
Everyone knows that we're not England supporters. That's for sure. Hey, we love England people.
Yes.
English people are fantastic. Their rugby team, not so good.
Yeah, they're going to be
Can't
one of
lose to the English rugby
No,
team.
that's right.
they're going to be one of my least favorites too.
Good.
Anyway, thanks very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure,
All right.
and enjoy the last 2 weeks of school. And I'll keep listening, that's for sure. And I'll pump your message out too.
Cheers, mate.
Jamie.
Catch ya.
Catch up.
All right, that's good stuff. Thanks, Damien. Thanks, Toby. That was a lot of fun. Great conversation regarding last weekend's Super Rugby matches. And if you're watching, make sure you watch this weekend. There'll be a game on here in Canada early Saturday morning, another early Sunday morning. It's a nice way to get up and start your day, kick off your weekend. We're watching a little bit of rugby. If you can't, make sure that you listen to Damien and Toby's pod shortly after that, so that you can actually catch up and see what's been happening. Chad, definitely, hopefully we can get them on again and do another collaborative pod, because that was a lot of fun. Two great lads over there in England, a couple of Kiwis stranded on the island, making their way in the education world and giving knowledge about Super Rugby to all their fans around the world. Coming up next, next pod will feature Phil Mack, the dynamic scrum half for Team Canada. Recently retired, and great conversation, lots of great information there. Again, we're going to have Doug Fraser back. Doug, as you know, was on a pod a couple pods back, and he's bringing with him 10-Day the Beast from South Africa, so that's going to be a great one as well. We also have Adam Kleberger, if you remember 2011 famed Fear the Beard craze at New Zealand Rugby World Cup, and Adam's going to be on. And we also have Ray Barkwell, who's many caps for Canada at the hooker position. He wants to get on as well and talk about his story. So as always, thanks for listening. Appreciate all the listeners, all the viewers. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any thoughts as to who you'd like to see on, or if you have questions you'd like to have answered. Never hesitate to contact me. It's always great to get any type of feedback. And just remember, COVID restrictions are easing up in some parts of the world, especially here in Atlanta, Canada. Just make sure you're washing your hands and taking care and proper precautions while you're out. If you wear masks, if you don't, it is what it is, but just make sure you're being smart when you're out in public and taking care of yourself, your family, and those around you. I'd like to say thanks to Ben Sound Music, as always, for supplying us with our tunes. And until next time, this is Jamie. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and keep on rocking.